Welcome back to A320 Knowledge, your trusted source for Airbus expertise. Today we're diving into the cabin pressurization system. Let's start with the big picture. The system has 4 jobs: hold the outflow valve fully open on the ground, pre-pressurize for takeoff, control the cabin in flight, and release any leftover pressure after touchdown. It all comes down to one outflow valve at the back. Open it and cabin air escapes overboard. Close it and the packs inflate the cabin like a balloon. The kit list is short: 2 cabin pressure controllers, a residual pressure control unit, 2 pneumatic safety valves, and a single control panel up on the overhead. In normal operations, the whole thing's fully automatic. You monitor it, but from start to shutdown, you never normally need to touch it. The controller caps the cabin at approximately 8,000 feet in the cruise. That's the maximum altitude the pressurization system will accept inside the aircraft. Now, the brains of it, the 2 cabin pressure controllers. Control comes from 2 identical, independent digital controllers. One is active while the other sits in standby, and they talk over a cross-channel link. Each controller builds its picture of the world from 4 data sources, and each one earns its place. The ADIR supplies the pressure altitude the aircraft is actually flying at. The FMGC provides the destination landing elevation and the QNH. The engine interface units pass across the thrust lever angle, which feeds the takeoff logic, and the landing gear control and interface unit tells it whether you're flying or on the wheels. If the active controller fails, the standby takes over automatically. No crew action is needed in this case. The pair also swaps duties automatically 70 seconds after each landing, so the 2 systems share the work between sectors. Here's the full architecture. Both controllers, the 4 inputs on the left, the 3 motors feeding the single outflow valve, and the safety valves standing apart from all of it. Let's go down the back now, to the hardware doing the real work. The outflow valve sits low on the right-hand side of the fuselage, behind the aft cargo compartment, below the flotation line. Keep that flotation line in mind. Its actuator carries 3 electric motors. 2 AC motors share the automatic work, and 1 DC motor is kept purely for manual mode. Any one of them can drive the valve. Above the flotation line on the rear pressure bulkhead sit 2 independent safety valves. They're pneumatic, so they need no electrics and no controllers at all. If the cabin differential pressure ever reaches 8.6 psi, the safety valves open and dump pressure overboard. They protect the other way too. If outside pressure beats the cabin by 1 psi, they open to stop the hull being squeezed inwards. Then there's the residual pressure control unit. Its single mission is making sure you never park with pressure still in the cabin, and it opens the valve when 4 things line up. The outflow valve hasn't fully opened on its own. Both controllers have failed, or the crew is in manual mode. The aircraft is on the ground, and the engines are shut down, or every ADIR's channel shows the aircraft's speed as under 100 knots. And that flotation line, the guarded ditching push button closes. The outflow valve, the ram air inlet, the avionics ventilation valves, the pack valves, sealing everything below the waterline. There's one catch worth noting. If you're in manual mode, the ditching push button won't close the outflow valve for you. You drive it closed yourself with the toggle. Now let's fly a sector and watch the system think. On the ground, the valve is held fully open, so the cabin sits at airfield pressure, and there's no load on the doors. Once takeoff power is selected, the controller pre-pressurizes, taking the cabin down at 400 feet per minute until the differential reaches 0.1 psi. That small head start absorbs the pressure surge at rotation. In the climb, cabin altitude follows a pre-programmed law that accounts for your actual rate of climb. The aircraft climbs fast, the cabin still climbs gently. In the cruise, it holds the cabin at the level off value, or the landing field elevation if that's higher, always capped at approximately 8,000 feet. Here's the whole profile from the FCOM. Run along the bottom rows and you can see the cabin rate, and the differential at every phase, peaking at 8.06 psi. In the descent, the cabin comes down at no more than 750 feet per minute, aiming to reach the landing field pressure plus 0.1 psi just before touchdown. At touchdown, any remaining pressure bleeds off at 500 feet per minute, and 55 seconds after landing, the valve drives fully open again. If you don't climb away after takeoff, abort mode stops the cabin climbing and puts the pressure back to the takeoff altitude, ready for an immediate return, and the envelope is generous. The system supports ground, climb and descent operations at airfields with pressure altitudes of up to 14,100 feet. Up to the flight deck, the panel and the system page. On the overhead cabin press panel, you've got the landing elevation knob, the mode selector, the manual vertical speed toggle, and the guarded ditching push button. Pull and turn the knob out of auto, and you're in semi-automatic mode, selecting the landing elevation yourself, anywhere from -2,000 to 14,000 feet. The controller then uses your selected elevation with the captain's baro reference from the ADIRS, so the QNH on side 1 has to be correct. The printed scale is only a guide. Fine-tune the selection against the landing elevation readout on the ECAM, and that's your whole job in semi-automatic mode. The amber fault light in the mode selector only ever means one thing. Both automatic systems have failed. A single controller failure shows nothing here at all, a trick worth knowing. Hold the mode selector in manual for at least 10 seconds, then back to auto, and control passes to the other system. Now the cab press page itself. Differential pressure on the left, cabin rate in the middle, cabin altitude on the right, with the active system, the outflow valve arc and the safety valve indication in the box below. The differential shows amber outside its normal band at 8.5 psi and above, or -0.4 psi and below. The cabin altitude digits pulse the moment the cabin reaches 8,800 feet, and settle again once it's back below 8,600. The cabin rate digits do the same above 1,750 feet per minute. And if the outflow valve opens beyond 95% in flight, its indication turns amber, because a wide open valve at altitude means the cabin can't hold pressure. The safety indication sits in white with both valves seated. The moment either one comes off its seat, safety and its diagram turn amber. Now the day both systems die, manual mode. With both automatic systems failed, you press the mode selector to manual and become the pressure controller yourself, working the valve directly. Selecting manual cuts power to both automatic motors and hands the valve to the dedicated manual motor. From here it moves only when you command it. The toggle is completely literal. Hold it up and the valve drives open, so the cabin altitude climbs. Hold it down and the valve closes so the cabin descends. Use short inputs and be patient. The manual motor is slower than the automatic pair, and the valve position on the ECAM can take up to 5 seconds to visibly change. Your indications now come from a backup section inside Controller 1 on its own independent power supply with its own sensor. Expect a small jump in cabin altitude as it takes over. It's a lower resolution sensor. And here's the trap. In manual mode, the valve does not open automatically at touchdown. After landing, hold the toggle full up until the ECAM shows fully open, before anyone touches a door. Now the drill where pressurization earns its keep, smoke removal. Here's the shape of the smoke, fumes and avionics smoke procedure. Immediate actions at the top to protect the crew, a diversion decision if the source isn't immediately obvious or isolated, and 3 boxed items available at any time. Confirmed smoke or fumes is a red land as soon as possible checklist. You're anticipating a diversion from the very first action. Whatever the source, the immediate actions always come first. They protect the crew, limit further contamination of the cockpit and cabin, and establish communication with the cabin crew. If the smoke itself becomes the greatest threat, you proceed to the removal of smoke and fumes items. Its whole aim is to ventilate the cockpit and cabin with emergency ram air, and that needs the pressurization system's help. Here's the first half of the drill. Emergency exit lights on, then a split that hangs on one question. Can you smell fuel? With fuel vapours, cabin fans on and both packs off. The recirculated air stops vapours pooling in the mixer bay, and that keeps the explosion risk down. With no fuel vapours, it flips. Cabin fans off to keep smoke out of the cabin, and pack floater high for maximum fresh airflow. You never smother the packs to starve a fire. Next, we set the landing elevation to 10,000 feet. Start the descent to flight level 100, or the MEA and MORA, and notify air traffic control. The aircraft descends while the cabin altitude climbs, so the differential unwinds towards 0. Depressurization starts with the descent, and the thinner cabin air even dilutes the smoke for a while. And the second half, the work at flight level 100. This is where you take the outflow valve by hand, both packs off, mode selector to manual, and the manual toggle held full up to drive the outflow valve open, then ram air on. If you are in the electrical emergency configuration, the APU master switch goes on before those steps, and off again once the ram air is flowing. That switch isn't there to start the APU, it closes the battery contactors for a maximum of 3 minutes, connecting the batteries to the DC battery bus that powers your manual valve motor. Ram air only works once the differential is 1 psi or below, The emergency inlets in the left belly fairing opens, and outside air flows through the mixer unit into the cockpit and cabin. Under automatic control, ram air on, with the differential below 1 psi, drives the valve about 50% open by itself. In manual it won't, which is exactly why this drill has you holding it open. If smoke still persists, slow to 200 knots maximum, keep the cockpit door open, headsets on, and the pilot monitoring opens their sliding window. It gets pretty noisy, so lean on the visual warnings and indications. Finally, let's break it properly, from minor to major failures. Lose a single controller and the standby simply takes over. Nothing at all for you to do. Lose both and the mode selector fault comes on in amber with an ECAM caution. From there, it's manual mode. Everything we covered, especially the touchdown trap. If the cabin climbs above 9,550 feet, or 1,000 feet above the airfield if that's higher, the excess cabin altitude warning fires, and the cabin altitude figures turn red with it. Above flight level 100, the crew oxygen masks go on first every time. Below flight level 160, you initiate a descent to flight level 100, or the MEA and MORA, and advise the cabin crew. Above flight level 160, it's the full emergency descent. Thrust to idle, full speed brake, and maximum appropriate speed. And trust the warning even if the cab press page disagrees. The alert can come from a different pressure sensor to the one driving your display. A rapid or explosive depressurization announces itself. The cabin rate and altitude race upwards, possibly with a bang or a thud, and it's straight into the memory items, and, if needed, the emergency descent. In that event, the outflow valve may well still be closed. The air isn't leaving through the valve, it's leaving through whatever broke. And even hand-flying the cabin, you're never alone. Push the differential too far, and the safety valves lift somewhere between 8.2 and 8.9 psi, whatever you do with the toggle. So, to wrap all of this up, remember, 2 controllers drive 1 outflow valve, and in the cruise, the cabin never sits above roughly 8,000 feet. Control hands over automatically on a failure, and the 2 systems swap duty 70 seconds after every landing. 2 pneumatic safety valves back the whole thing up, relieving at 8.6 psi over ambient and 1 psi under. In manual mode, toggling upwards opens the valve and the cabin climbs, and after landing, nothing opens by itself. That one's on you, before any door moves, and smoke removal is heavily tied to the pressurization system. Get the aircraft to flight level 100, the cabin to 10,000 feet, with the valve held fully up and the ram air on. Want to take your knowledge to new heights? Join our newsletter with a brand new tech quiz emailed every month, full access to the complete question archive, and in-depth articles on systems, procedures, and techniques. Scan the code or visit a320knowledge.substack.com